It all started the day we moved into the neighborhood. We'd spent months finding the perfect house. A quiet little spot by the lake, far from chaos, with room for the kids to play and a yard my wife could finally garden in peace. But apparently, that peace came with a hidden cost. Karen, the self-appointed ruler of the HOA. On our first week, she stormed over, red-faced and flailing, demanding we submit to HOA rules immediately and pay fees we'd never agreed to. My wife politely explained that we had purchased the home outside the association's jurisdiction. Karen's face twisted with rage. "You will comply or I call the cops," she screeched. Her threats became a daily ritual. We ignored her, focusing on unpacking and settling in. By Wednesday, she showed up at our door again, this time with a notebook of fabricated violations. I smiled politely, knowing every word she was scribbling had no legal standing. That didn't stop her from trying to intimidate my family. By Friday evening, she called the police herself, insisting we were illegal occupants and refusing to pay our dues. My kids were watching cartoons, my wife was making dinner, and I was finishing some paperwork. When the police arrived, I calmly showed them the property deed, the HOA bylaws, and the fact that Karen's claims were entirely fabricated. They left, shaking their heads. Karen, however, was still seething outside our gate. I knew this wouldn't end until we set boundaries. Around 11:30 p.m., she returned, trying to block our driveway with her SUV and a couple of muscle friends. I called 911, reporting an unlawful attempt to obstruct our property. Officers arrived within minutes. Karen, as it turns out, didn't anticipate that her own harassment would backfire. By midnight, the situation escalated quickly. The police cuffed her on charges of trespassing, harassment, and obstruction of private property. Her SUV was towed, and her friends fled before getting involved. She screamed, cried, and threatened lawsuits, but the officers remained calm. By the time the dust settled, Karen was the one in cuffs, sitting on the curb outside her own neighborhood, while we watched from our porch, exhausted but victorious. The next day, the HOA leadership scrambled to assess the damage to their reputation. News spread quickly among residents. Karen had overstepped in every possible way, and the legal consequences were undeniable. Calls from neighbors who had suffered under her reign came in, offering support and asking how we had handled the situation so cleanly. My family finally had peace. We weren't intimidated by threats, fines, or calls to the police. Karen had learned the hard way that rules do not make a person above the law, and that harassing homeowners who know their rights can land you behind bars in less than a day. From that night onward, any attempt to overreach by the HOA ended quickly with a polite reminder of property rights, legal authority, and consequences. Karen's reign of terror was over, replaced with an important lesson for the neighborhood. Never underestimate homeowners who know exactly where the law stands and are willing to enforce it.